Good day. So this is our report for risk management interim, and our members are Diog, Liana, and Escalante. So for the significance of perception, values, and interest to the tourism industry, it plays a vital role in the industry, not only here in the Philippines but also in other countries. Perception of the tourist is the idea or expectation of the actual place prior to their actual visit. Susan Coban said that it is very important to create a positive image, one that is free from crime and violence, in order for tourists to establish a positive perception towards the tourist destination even before they actually visited the country. Perception is not only on the positive side, as it can also cause negative views to the tourist attraction, as flaws can be highlighted online. Value of visitor is important because they are the lifeblood of the tourism industry. The interest of visitors is significant because it identifies the type of tourism that the tourist is interested in. So for our chosen tourism enterprise, which is the Flotsam and Jetsam Beach Hostel, it is a beach hostel located at San Juan, La Union, Philippines. It is a beach hostel that is made for families, group of friends, and even solo travelers that wants to escape the city life. It is a laid-back, easygoing place that celebrates parties and good times. For the significance of perception, values, and interest to Flotsam and Jetsam Beach Hostel, it is crucial that these aspects are taken into consideration, especially for the hostel business industry, for they indicate what the place should offer, improve, and innovate. To serve the visitor's best interest, the hostel is designed with tropical and vibrant colors to accentuate the calming, heartwarming, yet fun feeling that people will acquire when they stay at the hostel.
So as you can see, here's the list of threats and risks. So first, burglaries, vandalism, and break-ins. What is at risk? Equipments and on-site cash. The possible impact could be property loss or damage and financial loss. Second, lots of tourists and guests. What is at risk? Property and environment. The possible impact could be increased pollution and liability regulation. Third, drunk guests. What is at risk? Property and other staffs and guests. The possible impact could be accident, injury, and legal liability. Fourth, natural disaster. What is at risk? Safety of guests and staff and property. The possible impact could be losing lives or property damage.
Level of risk. The first risk is at level E. It may only occur in exceptional circumstances. The second risk is at level B. It will probably occur in most circumstances. The third risk is at level A. It is expected to occur in the most substances. The fourth risk is at level B. It will probably occur in most circumstances.
Likelihood of risk. For our first risk, which is burglaries, vandalism, and break-ins, the likelihood of risk is at level 2, minor, minimal disruption to destination and visitors, limited or no financial loss, and no media coverage or public interest. For our second risk, lots of tourists or guests, likelihood of risk is at level 2, minor, minimal disruption to destination and visitors, limited or no financial loss, and no media coverage or public interest. For our third risk, which is drunk guests, the likelihood of risk is at level 2, minor, minimal disruption to destination and visitors, limited or no financial loss, no media coverage or public interest. And for our last risk, which is the natural disaster, the likelihood of risk is at level 5, catastrophic, unable to meet visitors' requirements and provide normal service type and level, severe financial losses, widespread criticism of destination, critical international media reports, and mass cancellation of bookings. Qualitative risk analysis. For our first risk, which is burglaries, vandalism, and break-ins, the likelihood of risk is E, rare, and the consequence of risk is minor, L, low risk. For our second risk is lots of tourists or guests, the likelihood of risk is B, likely, and the consequence is minor, H, high risk. For our third risk, drunk guests, the likelihood of risk is A, almost certain, and the consequence of the risk is H, high risk. For our last risk, which is natural disaster, the likelihood of risk is B, likely, and the consequence of the risk is catastrophic, E, extreme risk, immediate action is required.
So the question here is the risk being managed well enough? Yes. Gladly, the existing measures have been managing the risk well. It has lessened the expected risks and have been a great help to avoid people from committing different ways that might damage the establishment's reputation and as a whole. For the first risk, it has been avoided by the security cameras that have been installed. Secondly, the pollution liability. This have been very much managed by the rules and regulations applied by the company and staffs. Waste management have been strictly implemented. Third, the intoxicated guests, which have been managed well by the staffs who undergone trainings and daily meetings in order for them to always be knowledgeable about managing this certain matter. Lastly is natural disaster. The plans already set by the company will be a great help to manage the risk that may occur any day at any time.
What will be the result if the risk is not treated? The possible result of failing to manage, evaluate, and minimize risks can ruin the company entirely. And if it occurs, consequences will follow, such as employee turnover, damaged reputation, product or service failure, and of course, loss of profits or financial loss.
Is the risk on other organizations or governments' responsibility? Will it affect other tourism operators or destinations? The risk stated above is the company's responsibility only. Vandalism, competitors, pollution, intoxicated guests, and natural disasters are responsibilities of the manager and owner of the business. Although these risks may still affect other tourism destinations, pollution is one of the big factors that can surely affect neighboring establishment if this isn't managed well.
For our conclusion, we concluded that risk management is very important to any organization with or without experiencing risks to be able to identify, analyze, evaluate, and shift risk. It also helps to identify multiple ways and strategies to monitor this risk and provide the organization with assurance that an effective plan can be developed and enforced to reduce or avoid losses.
Here are the recommendations for treating the risk for burglaries, vandalism, and break-ins. Documentation. Documenting this risk will help the authorities to make an investigation. For increased pollution liability regulations, reduce. Reducing the limitation of number of tourists or guests will reduce the pollution in the destination.
Drunk guests. Reduce. Reducing the allowed amount of alcohol accessibility of each guest to avoid overconsumption of alcohol. Training. Having a training for your personnel or staff on how to handle this kind of situation when a guest is already drunk. Natural disaster. Transfer. Ensuring your organization lessen losses when unforeseen disasters occurs.
So that is all for our risk management report for our interim assessment. Thank you and have a great day ahead.